Good to be here. Good to see some familiar faces. First of all, I just want to start by saying anytime you're asked to return to a place that you helped build, you had a hand in building.
What if the biggest story in the WNBA isn't happening on the court, but in a closed-door meeting that could shatter a franchise? A rumor is tearing through the league that the Indiana Fever's president just confirmed a shocking resignation, all because of the drama surrounding Caitlin Clark. But the coach at the center of this storm isn't who you think it is, and the truth is far more explosive than anyone is reporting. The internet has been set on fire with a stunning claim. Stephanie White, a name synonymous with Indiana basketball, has allegedly resigned, and the fallout is being directly linked to the team's new superstar, Caitlin Clark. This rumor didn't just appear out of nowhere. It spread like a digital wildfire across social media, fan forums, and gossip blogs, with each repost adding a new layer of supposed legitimacy. The story goes that Fever president Allison Barber let the secret slip in a private conversation, a leak that was immediately seized upon, confirming that the pressure cooker environment created by Clark's arrival has forced a monumental change at the top. Fans are in a complete frenzy, creating thousands of posts and videos, all operating under the assumption that the most hyped rookie in sports history has already claimed her first coaching casualty. It sounds like the kind of blockbuster drama that writes itself a legendary, respected coach being pushed out by a rookie phenomenon whose fame has become too big for the franchise to handle. The whispers suggest that the team is in total disarray, that the front office is in a state of panic, and that this resignation is merely the first domino to fall in a franchise teetering on the brink of a full-blown collapse. This narrative paints a vivid picture of a team so utterly consumed by the Caitlin Clark circus that it's devouring its own, forcing out established leadership in a desperate attempt to appease its new star. The implication is dark and clear, that Caitlin Clark's influence is not just powerful, but destructive. But as the smoke from this digital firestorm begins to clear, a glaring, undeniable inconsistency emerges, one that threatens to turn this entire story on its head and points not to a simple resignation, but to a much deeper, more troubling conspiracy. And what that single inconsistency reveals is that everyone is looking in the wrong direction, focusing on the wrong coach, and missing the real crisis that is about to boil over in Indiana. The first major crack in this sensational story, the one that unravels the entire narrative, appears with one simple, verifiable fact. Stephanie White is not the current head coach of the Indiana Fever. She hasn't been for 8 years. The woman currently walking the sidelines, the one bearing the impossible weight of managing Caitlin Clark's rookie season and the media storm that follows her everywhere, is Christy Sides. This single piece of information immediately sends up a massive red flag and transforms the story from a straightforward report into a genuine mystery. Why would a rumor so demonstrably false about Stephanie White resigning gain so much traction? Why is her name, a name from the team's past, being deliberately dragged into a firestorm that, on the surface, has absolutely nothing to do with her? It suggests that something far more calculated and sinister is at play. This isn't just a mistake or a simple case of misinformation. It feels like a classic misdirection, a piece of sophisticated disinformation designed to distract the public from the real source of the chaos. By focusing the world's attention on a ghost from the past, the architects of this rumor are cleverly diverting scrutiny from the present-day nightmare unfolding for the person who is actually in charge. The real story isn't about a coach who left the team nearly a decade ago. It's about the untenable, impossible situation the current coach, Christy Sides, finds herself in right now. The Stephanie White angle is a brilliant, effective smokescreen, and behind it, the foundations of the Indiana Fever are genuinely starting to crack and crumble under a weight they were never built to withstand. But to truly understand why this smokescreen was so effective, and why it was deployed in the first place, you have to travel back in time, to when Stephanie White really did walk away from the Fever, and see how the echoes of her past success are now being used to make the current situation even more volatile and dangerous. The real story about Stephanie White's exit from the Indiana Fever is a matter of public record, but it's a history that has been conveniently forgotten or intentionally ignored in the current frenzy. White, an Indiana native and a beloved figure in the state's basketball history, coached the Fever for 2 intense seasons in 2015 and 2016. She was successful, even leading the team on a thrilling run to the WNBA Finals in 2015, where they narrowly lost to the Minnesota Lynx. But after the 2016 season concluded, she announced her resignation. It wasn't a dramatic, forced exit tied to player drama or front office meddling. It was a strategic, ambitious career move. She left the professional ranks to take the head coaching job at Vanderbilt University, a prestigious position in the highly competitive SEC. Her departure was planned, professional, and had absolutely zero connection to Caitlin Clark, who at the time was just a 17-year-old phenom in high school, years away from becoming a household name. Today, the irony is thick, as Stephanie White is the highly successful head coach of the Connecticut Sun, one of the top teams in the WNBA, and a direct, fierce competitor to the Indiana Fever. Her team is known for its discipline, defense, and cohesive team play, all the things the current Fever squad is criticized for lacking. So, the idea that she would be resigning from Indiana now is not just false, it's a logical absurdity. But the reason her name is being used as a weapon in this new drama is what's truly revealing. It shows that the pressure on the Fever has reached such an intense, critical level that people are desperately looking for any narrative, any crack in the armor, to explain the team's ongoing struggles. The ghost of a former successful coach is being deliberately invoked to haunt the halls of the franchise, a constant, unspoken reminder of a more stable past, and in doing so, it serves to highlight the perceived failures of the current leadership. But that wasn't the whole story. The real drama isn't buried in the past, it's boiling over in the present, right on Christy Sides' bench, in her locker room, and in every press conference she's forced to endure. The real target of all this speculation and pressure is the current head coach, Christy Sides, who is living through what can only be described as a coach's worst nightmare, a situation for which there is no playbook. She was hired in 2022 with a clear, albeit difficult, mission: to rebuild a struggling franchise that had been at the bottom of the league for years. It was supposed to be a long, arduous process, conducted outside the national spotlight. But then the franchise won the lottery, landing the #1 pick in a year with a transcendent, culture-shifting talent. By drafting Caitlin Clark, the most famous, most scrutinized, and most polarizing female athlete on the planet, Sides' job description changed overnight. Her quiet rebuild was instantly transformed into the daily management of a global phenomenon. Every single decision she makes, from a late-game substitution to a simple timeout, is now dissected by millions of people on a global scale. Every loss is magnified into a catastrophe. Every on-court struggle is immediately blamed on her supposed inability to properly utilize a generational talent. The media isn't just covering the team anymore, they're embedding themselves in a 24/7 reality show, and Sides has been cast as the beleaguered, overwhelmed director. She is trapped in an impossible position, forced to balance the egos of veteran players with the development of a rookie superstar, all while managing the insane, unprecedented expectations of a fan base, a league, and a network of corporate sponsors who all see Caitlin Clark as their golden ticket. The team is losing games. The on-court chemistry looks disjointed and often painful to watch, and the defense has been consistently porous. For Sides, it's a no-win situation. If she's too hard on Clark or benches her for defensive lapses, she's accused of hating her star player or holding her back. If she gives Clark free rein to run the show, she's accused of losing control of the team and neglecting her other talented players. The pressure is immense, relentless, and coming at her from every conceivable angle. And the whispers coming from behind the locker room doors suggest that this overwhelming external pressure is beginning to cause deep internal fractures that may soon be impossible to repair. Beyond the intense heat on the coach's seat, there are growing, persistent whispers about a fractured and tense locker room. The Indiana Fever isn't just Caitlin Clark. It's a team composed of established professionals, including a previous #1 overall pick in Aaliyah Boston, and veteran leaders like Kelsey Mitchell. The narrative being pushed by insiders and echoed by analysts is that many of these players are struggling to adjust to their new reality. They went from being the primary or secondary focal points of the team to being supporting characters in the Caitlin Clark show. The change has been abrupt and, for some, likely jarring. On the court, the chemistry often looks forced and unnatural. Plays break down, players seem unsure of their roles, and the offense frequently stagnates as it defaults to Clark taking a difficult, contested shot. Is the root of the problem professional jealousy, a natural human reaction to seeing a rookie receive all the credit and attention? Or is it a legitimate basketball issue of trying to integrate a high-usage, ball-dominant player into a pre-existing team structure? The answer is almost certainly a complicated mix of both. Sources reportedly close to the team suggest that while there is no open hostility or outright rebellion, there is a palpable underlying tension. The veterans are said to be frustrated with the relentless media attention focused on one player and the pervasive perception that the team's success or failure rests solely on her shoulders. They are proud, elite athletes who have dedicated their lives to reaching the pinnacle of their sport. Yet they are often treated like afterthoughts in their own locker room and by the global media. This internal dynamic is a powder keg waiting for a spark. If the players are not fully bought in, if resentment is simmering just beneath the surface, then no coach in the world, not Christy Sides or anyone else, can possibly fix it. And the deafening silence from the very top of the organization is only making the situation worse, pouring gasoline on a fire that's already burning out of control. This brings us back full circle to the Fever president, Allison Barber, and the explosive claim from the title that she confirmed a resignation. The literal truth is, she hasn't confirmed anything of the sort in any public forum. But her public response, or rather, her lack thereof to the unfolding crisis, has been perceived as dangerously weak, and in the high-stakes world of professional sports, a lack of a strong, swift denial is often taken as a tacit confession of guilt or chaos. As the team continues to struggle on the court, as rumors of locker room strife and player resentment intensify, and as Coach Sides is publicly crucified by fans and media after every single loss, the front office has been remarkably, almost unnervingly, quiet. There has been no powerful, unequivocal statement from Barber backing her head coach. There has been no emergency press conference where the team's leadership stands shoulder to shoulder with Sides and the players to present a united, unbreakable front against the outside noise. This gaping void of leadership is what's truly fueling the resignation rumors and the sense of instability. The silence from the president's office is being interpreted as a profound lack of confidence. It suggests that the front office might be in a holding pattern, waiting to see how things play out, effectively leaving their coach to fend for herself in the middle of a media hurricane. In a strange, twisted way, the video's title is correct. The president has confirmed something. By saying nothing at all, she has confirmed that there is a serious problem. By failing to defend her coach, she has confirmed that her position is not secure. And by allowing the narrative of chaos to spin out of control, she has confirmed that the franchise is in a state of crisis, seemingly unsure of how to navigate the very storm that their own superstar rookie has created. This silence has created a dangerous power vacuum, and it's being filled with rampant speculation, fear, and a sense of impending doom. But the chaos surrounding the Fever might not just be their problem alone. It could be a symptom of a much larger, league-wide conflict that has been brewing ever since Caitlin Clark's name was first called on draft night. The on-court drama and internal turmoil in Indiana are just one piece of a much larger, more unsettling puzzle. Is the entire WNBA, or at least a powerful faction within it, actively working against Caitlin Clark? The evidence is becoming increasingly difficult to ignore. From the very moment she stepped onto a professional court, Clark has been subjected to a level of physical aggression and psychological warfare that goes far beyond typical rookie hazing. The infamous hip check from Chennedy Carter wasn't just a hard foul. It was a blatant, non-basketball play that felt deeply personal and malicious. Other players have been consistently overly aggressive, giving her hard shoves, cheap shots off the ball, and verbal jabs that the cameras don't always catch. Prominent commentators and even legendary former players like Diana Taurasi have openly stated that there's a target on her back, and that a contingent of veterans feel deeply disrespected by the unprecedented media. Attention, the massive endorsement deals, and the narrative that Clark is single-handedly saving their league. This isn't just about welcoming a rookie. It feels, to many observers, like a coordinated effort by the league's old guard to physically and mentally break down the player everyone is anointing as the new face of the WNBA. They see the private jets, the multi-million-dollar Nike contracts, and the sold-out arenas, and they feel that this fame and fortune is unearned and has come at their expense. The Indiana Fever's internal struggles are a microcosm of this league-wide resentment. Their opponents play with extra aggression against Clark, which exacerbates the Fever's on-court problems, which in turn increases the pressure on coach sides and the already tense locker room. It's a vicious, self-perpetuating cycle of failure and frustration. The Fever aren't just playing against another team every night, they're playing against a league-wide narrative that seems determined to humble Caitlin Clark at all costs. And that collective, immense pressure is pushing the entire franchise toward a breaking point from which it may not be able to recover. So, the shocking rumor about Stephanie White resigning was nothing more than a ghost story, a clever and malicious distraction from a terrifying and complex reality. The truth is that the Indiana Fever are at the epicenter of a perfect storm, a convergence of forces that no one could have fully anticipated. They have a generational talent who is also a lightning rod for controversy and jealousy. They have a coach stuck in an impossible, no-win position. They have a locker room struggling with a massive and abrupt power shift. They have a front office whose silence is breeding instability and fear. And they have a league that seems, at times, to be actively rooting against their success. The real drama isn't a fabricated resignation from the past. It's the very real and imminent possibility of a complete and total implosion in the near future. The pressure cooker is about to explode, and the question is no longer if a major change is coming, but when and how devastating it will be. Will Christie Sides be made the scapegoat for a crisis that is much bigger than her? Can the locker room heal its deep divisions before they shatter the team's potential? Or will the Caitlin Clark phenomenon, the very force that was supposed to launch the franchise into a new golden era, end up being the very thing that tears it apart, piece by painful piece? The entire sports world is watching, because the outcome of this crisis in Indiana will not only determine the future of a franchise, but could very well define the trajectory of the entire WNBA for the next decade. The fuse has been lit, and the only question that remains is how big the explosion will be.